Hi, and welcome back to Art Theoriez. This week we are in the studio of Silvana Valenzuela, my partner and artist. We're doing a studio visit and an artist interview. Stay tuned. Well, that's nice tea.
Yeah.
Oh, there's men up there as well.
Huh?
It's actually men working up there.
Yeah.
Silvana Valenzuela, welcome to Art Theoriez.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Shall we start by... Can I ask you to introduce yourself to the channel and the viewers?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name's Silvana. I'm a queer non-binary artist living in London. I'm also a holistic counsellor and soon to be horticulturist.
Wow, so a lot of strings to your bow.
And Cancer Sun, Leo Rising, Aries Moon for those interested.
That's a bomb. I just dropped a bomb. So, something which I have always appreciated about your work, and obviously I've known you since you started art school, so like as long as I've known you, is that your art has a kind of sincerity to it, and it's quite personal and in a lot of ways quite vulnerable. And especially as we were kind of going through the art school or the journey of being a young artist, a lot of us are tempted to hide behind a kind of cool aloofness or an irony thing, like in our art. And you never really played that game.
Definitely I think British art students do that the most, and I could also see it in the British art students, not to call anyone out, when I was studying in the Netherlands. But I think Dutch art students have a different cool aesthetic thing that is the same thing that you're talking about, but it's different. It's not ironic. It can sometimes be like more vulnerable and stuff.
Right, or also hiding behind like trying to make work which is really intelligent.
Right, yeah. Like
in no way,
heavy concept.
In order to avoid making anything personal. Just a little add-in, Silvana studied in Holland, so that's why they know the Dutch art scene quite well. But my question to you is, was it a deliberate choice? Did you notice this and did you think, no, I'm not doing that? Or did it just come naturally to you?
To be vulnerable or to be...
Well, I guess two things. Number one, to make art that's very personal, quite intimate, quite vulnerable, that like brings you into your world and your family, but also not to play the game I saw a lot of other people playing, and still do, to be quite frank.
I think I try. So when you first met me was the first time I ever did art ever. And I think in that first year, luckily we were doing traditional like lessons, so we had no real sense of like what we were doing. But in the second year I definitely think I tried to like do the cool thing, but the thing is like I'm really bad at lying. Like I can't get away with like bad or naughty things because I think my body language and I just read like as if I've already done that bad thing. So not in that way, but just like I'm just not good at lying. So I think doing the cool aesthetic thing just was never my thing because I couldn't do it as like a genuine source of myself in my art. Whereas the vulnerable thing comes out a lot easier for me. I find it easy to be vulnerable, and I also want to bring that out in other people. I want other people to be able to be vulnerable with me. So I feel like if I put it out first, people are more likely to be vulnerable with me as well.
I think that's a great point.
Together learning the functionality of being.
And who told you to be here? And who told you to be here?
And I think you said it there, like, to be yourself in your art. Like, I also see in your kind of art making career that it's quite strongly engaged in this search for identity, or search to articulate either your identity or another person's identity. And I guess you can't effectively do that if you're lying to yourself about who you are. Like, you have to be a bit vulnerable, you have to be a bit exposed if you really wanted to understand yourself better.
Yeah, exactly.
Or to present yourself better, which
exactly,
to a large extent is what I see you doing in your work a lot of the time.
Yeah, I would agree.
Que he entendido que hay malos momentos, malísimos, buenos y mucho mejores. Y es el entender de que aunque te encuentres en situaciones muy extrañas, que pueden ser para nada positivas.
Why do you think it is that you are interested in exploring identity?
Yeah, I use identity as a umbrella term because the exploration of identity can encompass so many investigations, I guess, of the self, of also sharing stories, moments that we find like connections between other people because of shared identities, whether that be your like, I don't know, your heritage, your sexuality, your gender. When you're able to connect with another based on an identity aspect, I don't know, it's something that is a very profound connection because it's yourself, it's your sense of self. And so my own exploration of my identity came from the fact that I intersect so many identities. I'm mixed heritage, I'm Peruvian and British, I'm bisexual, I'm non-binary, so I also don't constrict myself to the woman or man binary system that exists. So I feel like the fact that I am in the middle of so many things meant that I wanted to explore that and understand that. And I wasn't able to use all of these labels obviously throughout my life, like each label has come about in its own time. Some people find using labels constrictive. I find it very like, I was going to literally just say, like, I find it identifying. Like, I feel like labels allow me to concretely understand who I am, and then maybe I drop using the label because I then am feeling comfortable with who I am as a person. But yeah, I feel like also within the realms of using the theme of identity within my work means that I can explore stories, and stories is really important to me. Being able to storytell, being able to relay my own stories and anecdotes of growing up that have like that highlight certain identities that I embody, and then being able to share that with an audience is really lovely to me because it means that someone could relate to that as well. And I love that notion that someone could relate to a personal story of mine that isn't actually so personal because someone else is relating to it.
Oh, that's a really great answer. Thank you so much. I think one artwork of yours that comes to mind when I think about that exploration in labels would be the dance piece, which we did together. Can you explain to the audience what the dance piece was about, or the choreographed piece, and
so
how it relates to that topic? Sorry.
I made a choreography piece, a performance work, and we were to perform this at Chelsea College of Art, and the sleeves that you can see behind us are actually parts of the costume from this performance, and when they're moved they create like a huge like swaying movement and like a very sensitive to any kind of movement, which I love. But the I guess story behind that performance piece was me embodying what is, I don't know, sometimes seen as being Latin American as in being like very colourful and dancing and like these kinds of associations that we may get from hearing the word Latin America or a Latin American person, and then performing it with the backdrop of like a very grey England or London meant that we as performers really popped. And I love that because I sometimes feel like I don't pop, but I like stand out, as in I don't feel like I fully fit in with whether I'm in a society full of like British UK people, or even when I'm back in Peru, I also don't wholly fit into society there because I'm neither wholly one of these things. I'm a little bit of both, and so that makes me feel like I would say in Spanish like no encajo. I don't box in. It's literally, but I don't fit in exactly. And so by making these costumes, I was like over exaggerating that fact. Like, look, here I am. I don't fit in, and we're making these like really bizarre movements that are also kind of slow and awkward, which is like the Britishness, like my interpretation of like Britishness as being like a little bit awkward, and like my face in the performance is also very like solemn, and we're not smiling, and like we've got this wacky blue hair, and like it's very loud. And yeah, I feel like it just directly speaks to my identity.
What I realised when I actually came around here is you have so much work, and a lot of it is these fabric wall hangings. You've got the pots. You've got
the physical side of it is
But I always thought about your practice as a more conceptual or kind of immaterial or social or choreographic thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of forgot that you accumulate so much
actual
object-based
things.
stuff. I want to ask you 2 questions. Number 1, what is the relationship between your material work and your immaterial work, like the dancing, the poetry, the visiting your old houses project, the kind of more conceptual stuff?
I feel like with the textile work, it kind of makes the ephemeral ones become more tangible. Like, this is literally made from the old costumes that I use it for a performance, as well as like added hair and like came at a later stage. But this really reminds me of that performance. Plus, it has like another context as well. But like, it was born because I was inspired by an old piece of performance work that I did, and that was the costume from it.
Which is pretty much what you did there as well. Like
it was from an
object,
piece.
But it comes from a performance.
Exactly.
Evolve to live like water. Learn to live in the now. Thank you.
Do you feel like you do these immaterial artworks, which are fantastic and which I love, and to be quite honest, remember like a bit more than these?
Yeah, me too.
And you want a way of holding on to it, so you kind of collect something physical that can be like the physical embodiment of the immaterial thing.
I feel like it's like a photograph of the performance or something, or a photograph of a memory, or a photograph of like something that's happened to me, because like that work, for example, is literally just about grief. Yeah. And I guess it's me processing grief, but it's also like me being able to immortalize the fact that those people have existed and that has happened.
Okay.
So it's like immortalizing these moments in my life, I guess.
Immortalizing. I like that, because it's like whether it's grief or whether it's a performance,
or
which is a moment that's happened, or a dance.
Or
it comes and it goes, but you can hold on to these, so it's kind of immortal. Yeah, I get that. That's really cool. That's quite.
And I guess that's the whole point of like
again,
material, isn't it? Like the fact is, I don't know. I feel like people accumulate material. Like we have an attachment to material because it means that we can like.
Do you think it makes us feel safe?
It does, and like it's more grounding. Yeah, having material
Yeah.
possessions is very grounding. Obviously,
Yeah,
like you can
I
have an
agree.
excess of material possessions, but like
And
it's a
that's
very
why
grounding thing.
it makes you feel better to buy something. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's like
it
it's
can
tangible.
do.
It's like I have this now. It's mine.
Yeah.
Interesting. Just looking around the studio today and in general, that I've noticed two themes that run through your work quite consistently. The first one is hands,
Yeah.
and the other one is clouds. Can you talk about what hands and clouds mean to you?
Clouds is a very recent one, and it's literally just because I'm inspired by the space. So we're on the 9th floor here in my studio, and we're right next to the Thames. We're in Woolwich. And on a beautiful day, unlike today's very overcast, I'm literally in the clouds in this space. So like I look outside these windows and all I can see is cloud and buildings, but like there's one particular window around me, a few windows around me that I can literally just see the clouds passing by, and I don't know, it's been very peaceful. It's been really like healing whilst experiencing the novelty of grief. And yeah, they're just like, I don't know, I found a great sense of peace watching them. And then I also started thinking how they're just these things that like come and go and they pass my windows by, and I quite like that as a metaphor as well, of like I related it to like spirits that may be visiting and like are coming and going. So yeah, it's just like a translate. I kind of built a story on like these clouds and like gave them a meaning and gave them a metaphor of what they represent to me. And so they've made like, it literally, so this cloud says like, I'm just passing through. And that's what they do. They're just passing through, and so do spirits. They sometimes maybe come and visit us, and they're just passing through. And I hope that my ancestors and my spirits, family members' spirits, do come and just pass through and come and visit and spend some moments with me.
Great, thank you so much. How about the hands?
The hands, so I've been also making clay hand pots with the purpose of having plants in them. So the idea was that like grounding has also been something that I've wanted to just be quite firm with. Like I wanted to feel quite grounded. I feel like a lot of us have needed that as well because of the pandemic and various other life experiences that we've all been experiencing. But grounding as a theme. And so the hands are face down, and if they're on the floor, they're putting pressure on the floor, and that's a direct link to being grounded, so being on the earth. And then the pot itself would contain a plant, and so it's this cycle of being earthed and earthing. So your hand is on the earth, there's earth coming out, and the plant is coming out of the earth, and it's like this cycle of like grounding, being grounded, and just earthing.
How do you think your kind of parallel interests of holistic counselling and horticulture are feeding into your main artistic practice?
Yeah, I actually had an epiphany about this the other day, because I have come out of art school in 2019, haven't really stepped into my career as an artist. Well, now I feel like it's like a little bit, but like I had the sensation that I wasn't really, have done 2 diplomas since, like what the hell is going on? And I figured it out. What's happening is myself as an artist is the foundation, or as I like to see it, my cake. And what holistic counselling and horticulture are the icings on top. And basically what that's going to happen is that's feeding into my practice. So whatever I'm learning now is hopefully going to then just feed itself into future projects and work, because I feel like I've kind of touched on elements of like nature and my relationship to nature and my relationship to like Pachamama and Andean Cosmovisión, and I feel like doing the horticulture course or diploma, for example, is really going to like just give my future projects that touch on nature topics or climate change or these kinds of things, just give it that much that like I don't know, just like that strength, and like it's rooting back to something concrete that I personally needed. And the holistic counselling is something that, or counselling and psychology is always something that I've been interested in, and connecting with people and being able to like support people is something that I do very often in my friends and with my friends and family. But the course has also like fed into my practice in the sense of trying to make sure that I'm a holistic artist in the sense of like taking care of myself, not
Yeah.
like breaking myself when I'm having studio time, like making sure
Sure,
that I
sure.
stop to eat, sleep, like do all the things I need to do to be as well and healthy as I can be as an artist, because a lot of the times we work a bit too hard and
Sure. Yeah, of course.
strive for a certain stereotype. I think we're moving out of that now though. And yeah, holistic counselling is also just a practice that I've found that I genuinely really love, and I'm so happy to be able to practice that as well separately.
So you mentioned that with the horticulture thing there's a grounding element to it,
Yeah.
and I think maybe you were searching for that grounding element, because when you talked about your hand pots you were literally talking
Yeah.
about the grounding and connecting to nature and the hands touching the soil, and now you found yourself in a position where you're literally like touching the soil with your
It's
hands.
really good for your mental health, like really good. And as someone who has mental health stuff come up quite often, like that, the whole day that I spend outside in nature is just like so good.
Wow.
It's really good.
Well, congratulations for getting on that course.
Thank you.
Silvana, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on Art Theoriez.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah.
I will do one more thank you for watching series in case we hate
That was
that.
a good one.
Oh, we can still use it. I'm not deleting it.
Go on then.
Silvana,
Thank you for watching. My name is Go. Goodbye. Okay, go on. No, go on. Go on.
Silvana, thank you so much for being on Art Theoriez.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
No, can we do that
That
again?
was so boring.
Take it one. No, come on, we'll do it.
Silvana, thank you so much for being on Art Theoriez.
It was
an
a
absolute
Okay, this time for real.
Silvana, thank you so much for being on Art Theoriez. It was an absolute pleasure to see your studio and to hear your thoughts.
Thank you so much for having me, and yeah, it was nice talking to you in depth about my work.
You're very welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end.